You don't belong in this family, and everyone here knows it. Red wine ran down the front of my white dress while 200 guests stared in silence. My mother-in-law was smiling, but so was I because she had no idea who paid for every single thing she was standing on. My name is Karin. I'm 34 years old, and that night changed everything. I grew up in a small town in rural Ohio, nothing fancy. My dad worked at a factory, and my mom cleaned houses on the weekends. We didn't have much, but we had each other, and that was always enough for me. I was the first person in my family to go to college. I worked 2 jobs to get through school, waiting tables in the morning and tutoring kids at night. Nobody handed me anything. After college, I got into event logistics. I started at the bottom, hauling chairs and ironing tablecloths, but I loved it. I loved making something beautiful out of nothing. Over the years, I built myself up. I became an event logistics coordinator specializing in luxury weddings and high-end galas. I was the person behind the curtain, the one nobody saw but everyone depended on, and I was proud of that. I married my husband Tyler 3 years ago. He's a good man. Kind, honest, the type who remembers your coffee order and holds the door for strangers. But his mother, Judith, she never accepted me. Not once. Judith came from old Southern money. She had opinions about everything, especially about who deserved to be in her family. And in her eyes, I didn't qualify. I wasn't polished enough, wasn't wealthy enough, didn't have the right last name or the right zip code. To her, I was temporary. A phase her son would eventually outgrow. But here's the thing, I wasn't rich or glamorous, but I had built something with my own 2 hands that Judith couldn't even imagine. If you've ever walked into a room where someone already decided you weren't good enough before you even opened your mouth, then you know exactly how I felt. Subscribe to this channel and tell me your story in the comments. I'm reading every single one. Let's go. It was Tyler's younger sister, Elise's wedding. The venue was a stunning lakeside estate, the kind of place you see in magazines. Crystal chandeliers reflected off the water. White flowers lined every walkway. It was breathtaking, and it cost over $50,000 just for the rental. I showed up with Tyler, wearing a simple but elegant dress. Nothing over the top. The moment Judith saw me, her eyes did that thing they always did. That slow scan from head to toe, followed by a tight smile. "Oh, you're wearing that." I let it go. I always let it go. During cocktail hour, Judith pulled me aside near the head table. She told me I'd been reassigned. My seat at the family table was gone. "We need room for actual family," she said. Her voice was sweet, but her eyes were ice cold. I told her I'd sit wherever kept the peace. That wasn't enough for her. She picked up a full glass of red wine, looked me dead in the eyes, and threw it down the front of my dress. It splashed across my chest, soaked into the fabric, and dripped onto the marble floor. The sound of gasps filled the room. "Maybe now you'll go home and stop pretending you fit in here," she said. Tyler came running. His face was red, his fists were clenched. I grabbed his arm. "Don't, not yet." He looked at me, confused, but he trusted me. He always trusted me. I pulled out my phone and sent one text message. Then I put it back in my clutch and stood there, dripping, silent, and completely calm. What nobody at that wedding knew, including Judith, was that I was the one who found, negotiated, and personally paid the entire $50,000 deposit for that venue. The humiliation didn't stop with the wine. Judith had me moved to table 14, the worst table in the entire venue, right next to the service entrance where waiters pushed carts back and forth all night. I was seated with distant acquaintances and random plus ones who didn't know anyone. Judith walked past my table and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Family only at the front. You understand, dear." A few family members looked uncomfortable, but nobody said a word. I sat down. I didn't eat. Then came the toasts. Judith stood up with a champagne flute and gave a long, glowing speech about Elise's wedding being a reflection of our family's legacy and our standards. She thanked everyone who truly contributed to making the day possible. She looked at her own friends, her own circle. She never once said my name. Then she paused, smiled, and added, "We're just grateful Elise found someone from our world. Not everyone in this family was so lucky." Her friends laughed. Tyler gripped the edge of the table so hard his knuckles turned white. I put my hand on his. "Let her finish, trust me." Later, I went to the restroom to try and clean the wine off my dress. The door opened behind me. It was Judith, followed by two of her friends. She stood behind me in the mirror and said, "I've told Tyler 100 times, you're a phase. You come from nothing, and nothing is what you'll always be." One of her friends nodded. "Judith's been so patient with you, honestly." I looked at myself in the mirror. Wine-stained, mascara slightly smudged, but my eyes were steady. I said quietly, "You're right about one thing, Judith. I didn't come from money, but I wonder, do you even know where this came from?" I gestured around the room. She scoffed. "What are you talking about? We paid for this wedding." I dried my hands, said nothing, and walked out. She had no idea, and in about 20 minutes she was going to find out. Here's what nobody in that family knew. For the past 4 years, I'd been running a hugely successful online event planning consulting brand called Velvet and Stone. I built it anonymously. No face, no real name, just pure expertise and years of industry knowledge packed into courses, brand partnerships, and consulting sessions. Velvet and Stone had over 200,000 followers. It brought in 6 figures a year. Tyler knew, of course, but I'd asked him to keep it private. I wanted to build it on my own terms, away from judgment. The funniest part? Judith herself had shared Velvet and Stone content with her friends more than once. She'd called the woman behind it brilliant and so refined. She had no idea she was praising the daughter-in-law she despised. And the venue for Elise's wedding? I'd arranged it through my professional connections. The managing director, Greg Hollister, was someone I'd worked with for 5 years. I paid the full deposit from my own business earnings. I routed it through a vendor account so my name wouldn't appear on any paperwork. It was my gift to Elise because I loved her and because she deserved a beautiful day. The text I sent after the wine incident was simple. "Greg, I need you to come to the reception. Bring the invoice. It's time." Greg texted back within seconds. "On my way, I'll have everything." While I waited, Judith was having the time of her life. She posed for photos. She accepted compliments on the stunning venue she chose. She told anyone who would listen how she had personally handled all the important details. Then Elise, the bride, quietly walked over to table 14. She looked guilty. "Karin, I'm so sorry about Mom. I didn't know she'd go that far. I know what you did for me." I squeezed her hand. "This is your day. I'm not going to ruin it, but I am going to set something straight." Elise nodded, tears forming. She needs to hear it. She's needed to hear it for years. Tyler sat down next to me and put his arm around my shoulders. "Whatever you need, I'm right here." 20 minutes later, Greg Hollister walked through the reception doors in a sharp charcoal suit, carrying a leather portfolio. The music had faded into a lull between dinner and dancing. He approached the head table and asked to speak. Judith looked up, not recognizing him. She smiled her gracious hostess smile. "And you are?" "I'm Greg Hollister, the managing director of this venue. I wanted to personally thank the person who made tonight possible." Judith started to stand, already reaching out her hand. "Well, that's so kind of you to come and say that." Greg turned. He walked past her, past the head table, past the family. He walked all the way to table 14 and extended his hand to me. "Karin, thank you. Your $50,000 deposit, your planning, your industry connections. This wedding would not exist without you. You're one of the best professionals I've ever worked with, and it's an honor, as always." The room went dead silent. Forks stopped. Conversations died. Every single head turned. Judith's face lost all its color. "That's not possible. We paid for this." Tyler stood up. His voice was steady and clear. "No, Mom, you didn't. Karin did. Every cent of this venue. She did it as a gift for Elise because she loves this family, even though you've spent years trying to destroy her." I stood up, still in my wine-stained dress. I looked Judith in the eyes and spoke calmly. "You called me nothing, Judith. You threw wine on me in front of everyone. But the floor you're standing on, the roof over your head, the lights, the views, I paid for all of it." I paused. "And that event page you love sharing with your friends? Velvet and stone? The one you call brilliant? That's me. I'm the woman you keep praising to everyone." Judith's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Her friends stared at the floor. The silence in that room was louder than anything she had ever said to me. Elise stepped forward. "Mom, you owe Karin an apology, a real one, right now." Judith sat down slowly. Her hands were shaking. "I didn't demand an apology. I simply said, I didn't do this to humiliate you. I did it because Elise deserved a beautiful wedding. But I'm done being silent while you treat me like I'm less than." I took Tyler's hand and we walked out onto the terrace. The lake stretched out in front of us, still and silver under the moonlight. The smell of jasmine drifted up from the gardens below. Tyler whispered, "I'm so proud of you." I looked out at the water and took a deep breath. I spent years trying to earn her approval. Tonight I realized I never needed it. I already had everything that mattered. A few weeks later, Judith sent me a handwritten letter. It wasn't quite an apology, but it was an acknowledgement. It was a start. I stepped out from behind velvet and stone. I put my name and face on the brand. Within 6 months, the business doubled in revenue. I built something real, something lasting, and I did it without anyone's permission. If someone in your life has publicly humiliated you, made you feel small in front of people you love, I want to hear about it. Your pain is valid and your comeback matters. Subscribe and share your story in the comments below. Click Hype to help this story reach others who need it. Your story has power. If you felt a connection to mine, please subscribe and share your journey in the comments. Every hype you give this video helps empower someone else. Thank you for being here and for listening.